really?
From it to the next capital.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've seen a lot of film and video. I've heard it's pretty. It's a
Yeah, no,
beautiful
it's beautiful.
location.
Yeah.
Do you need a white balance?
No, I'm good. I got that earlier. And
Okay, cool. So,
actually, Bobbie, let me get a quick mic check for you, please.
okay, from me? Yep.
James, that's
From me? Okay, cool. So I was just wondering, what is this interview? As in
One.
one, yes.
Yeah.
okay. James, Bobbie, I am.
Okay.
James, thank you for coming to Texas.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Is it your first time?
Yes, this is my first time here in Texas. I've been through Texas in the past. I've caught the Amtrak. I've been through Texas, and it's a very big state.
Now, you're an Australian.
Mm-hmm.
And, I normally don't ask people this question, but I feel compelled to ask you, how old are you?
I'm 27. I look younger than I am.
When you walked in, you could have been 15.
Well, actually, in one of my screenings, every time after I do my Q&A, when I walk up, people always turn to me and go, "Are you sure you're not 12?"
But you, excuse me, you got a young start then in the business.
I think so. I guess I guess I'm just very fortunate to know what I wanted to do from a very young age. I wanted to be a filmmaker since I was 11 years old. So I've just, I guess, stuck to it, and here I am now.
And here you are with your first feature-length film
Yes.
called Saw.
So yes.
All right. Now, how do you classify Saw? In what genre?
I kind of see it as a dark psychological thriller made in the context of a horror film. That's how I describe it.
Made in the context of a horror film.
Yes.
And what do you mean by that?
By that I mean, it has a very, it has the conventions of a thriller type storyline, but I shot it like it was a horror film. I executed it like it was a horror film, like made it really dark and scary, but with the kind of plot that you would generally find in a more conventional thriller storyline.
Why did you choose that genre or that kind of film?
Because Lee and I are just big fans of the horror genre. We love scary movies. We love to be scared, and we thought that this would be the best genre for us to start off with, and also, excuse me. Also, we found that that the story that we came up with was very similar to what was pretty much fell into the horror genre. We didn't sort of much set out to try and write a horror film. It just so happened that the story we came up with was more in that arena.
Was there any particular thing that inspired the storyline?
Our need to make a film, because initially that was our plan. We wanted to make a really cheap, low-budget horror film so that we could make it ourselves. So, or a low-budget film, I should say. We wanted to make it ourselves with our own money and with our friends back home and all that. So, we spent months trying to come up with an idea that we thought would be very cheap to do, and then we hit upon this idea about two guys stuck in a room. And what is cheaper than a film about essentially two guys stuck in a room for pretty much half the film?
As a director, though, didn't that pose certain problems for you?
Yeah, I guess it's pretty limiting, it can be pretty stale, it can be pretty static, because essentially it's like a stage play. If you just primarily set a film in one location, but I guess I was very lucky to have someone like Lee as my screenwriter. He essentially took my initial premise and he just ran away with it and made it much bigger than what it initially was going to be.
What is the scariest movie you've ever seen?
I think the scariest films I saw were two films I saw at a very early age, Jaws and Poltergeist. These two films have scarred me for life. I'm really afraid of the ocean and sharks because of Jaws, and I'm really afraid of scary clown dolls because of Poltergeist. I saw Poltergeist at the age of 7, and ever since then, I've had this thing for creepy dolls. It's that thing where I'm really repulsed by it, but yet very fascinated by it at the same time. And it just so happened that I've got a creepy doll in Saw as well.
What is the significance of Saw and the Saw in the movie?
Whew. The title is actually a reference to, a couple of elements in the film. I guess there are hacksaws in the film, but the villain, his name is Jigsaw, or the villain's name is Jigsaw, but I think primarily what the title refers to is the act of voyeurism. It's about watching, it's about seeing. So I think I think the title has multiple meanings. It's up to you to decide which one it's more about. But for me, it's about the act of watching.
Has the film opened anyplace else?
It has actually opened just this last weekend in the UK. The UK were the first to see this film. The British were the first to see this film. Yeah, and I'm really happy because it opened at number 2, right behind Wimbledon. There was no way we were going to be able to compete with a film called Wimbledon in England. So I'm really glad, but it's been playing really well. So I'm really excited for the release here in the States. It opens on the 29th of October, just in time for the Halloween weekend.
If you had to compare it with some film people might know, some horror film people might know, what would you compare it with?
Oh, goodness. I think not so much. I don't think I can single one film out per se, but I definitely think my main influence for this film was a guy called David Lynch. It was a film director called David Lynch, and I love his work. And I guess to a certain degree, when Lee and I were writing the script, we were trying to channel that spirit, that Lynchian spirit, into the film. And I think that plus another director that I really admire, that I love, a horror director that I love. His name's Dario Argento. He's an Italian horror director. He's been described as the Italian Hitchcock, and I think it's more like a combination of those two directors that I admire, and I think their work definitely had a big influence on me on this film.
Did you ever see his Phantom of the Opera?
Oh yes. Oh wow. Phantom. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of his early stuff, like Deep Red and Suspiria and all that. I love those films he made earlier on.
Well, I again thank you for coming.
Thank you. Yes.
And for bringing your film.
Uh-huh.
And I will have to tell you, I'm a devout wimp, a devout coward, but I sat through it, and I didn't go like this the whole time.
Oh, good.
And but I report on them because I know there's a huge following and a big audience for the horror genre.
Yes. I think people love to be scared. I think people love to go on that roller coaster ride to be scared, but at the end of the day, still, be scared within a safe context. Because, you come out of the theater at the end and you go, oh, cool, it's just a movie at the end of the day.
And I came out of the theater and immediately turned on all the Mozart I could find to calm me down.
Put on the comedy channel just to get a few laughs in before you went to bed.
James, thank you so much. I've enjoyed this.
Thank you very much for having me. Thanks.
James, stay right there for me. And
Okay.
I'm get a couple
Now
seconds.
he's going to then move the camera around. I will re-ask a few of the
Okay,
questions.
sure. Yep.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
begin.
good interview. I love your energy.
Well, geez, once your Lee gets in here, he's 10 times more energetic than I
Oh,
am.
well, we'll have to get a seatbelt for him, won't we?
You would need to. You need to strap him down. Cool.
Okay. All
And
right.
I am rolling.
What was it that sparked the idea for this story?
It was out of the need from the two of us to.
That's good. Okay. Was your line context of the story? Was that what you said when you were talking about context? And I repeated that line.
Oh, I think I said
The horror genre? Was it genre?
Yeah, and when you use the word context.
No, actually, the first one when you actually asked me was that's right. I said it was a conventional thriller. I see it as a dark psychological thriller made within the context of a horror film.
Okay, that's all right. All right, thank you. Context of the horror film. What do you mean by that?
Well, I guess what I mean by that is it's a conventional thriller storyline made and.
That's good. Okay. What is the scariest movie What is the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Scariest movie I've ever seen? I would say it would be Jaws and Poltergeist.
Okay, that's good. Why did you decide to put it in the horror genre?
Because it's just a great way to start, your career of blah 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 blah
Okay,
blah.
that's fine. That's fine. Let me see what else here. Okay. The title is Saw. There are saws in the movie. What's the significance of Saw?
Well, the title has multiple meanings. It means one thing, it means two, it means three.
Okay. All right. That's probably enough. I don't have to do it for all of them.